Hello, my name is Ade and welcome to an RPGAIO tutorial. This one is going to be covering loot tables. So loot tables are within items, and there we go. So basically what a loot table is every time you kill a monster, it can drop guaranteed loot. However, some of the loot that enemies drop, you might want to share across multiple enemies. So it wouldn't be useful of your time to be assigning those same loot drops to different enemies when you could just assign one loot table to all of them. And in addition to that, loot tables actually also allow you to specify what the chance of getting different items are. So we'll create a new loot table here. So we'll call this one, for example, the rare drop table. And make another one, and we'll call this the common drop table. And we plan to use these across, let's say, all of our enemies, because then we can also add like unique drop tables to certain enemies. So we have here our common drop table and our rare drop table, which you can reuse across multiple enemies. So let's start with the common drop table. So a common drop is probably going to be gold, and we'll say, we can even give like a level to this. We can say level 1 to 5. So this is just for us to look at. It's not going to be shown in game. So common drop table level 1 to 5. They'll be dropping between 10 and 50 gold. And we'll add a bunch of different items they can also drop. So let's say they can drop a sword of vitality, sword of luck, sword of strength, and we'll also add in some basic crafting materials, so maybe copper ore and linen. So we have now these 6 items that we can drop, and we haven't defined the chance to loot from this table. So if we successfully have chosen this table to loot from, we can say that there's an 80% chance I will actually get an item. And maybe for a rare table, you want only a 20% chance. But we'll say for this one, there's a high chance you'll actually get an item from this table. I will make the chance of getting gold quite high. So again, this is a common drop table. So we'll say gold is quite high on that list. You're most likely gonna get gold half the time. We can say each of these weapons have about 10% chance, or even lower. We can say they each have a 5% chance, and you simply just drag and drop these sliders to assign those values. We can say copper ore then has a 20% chance, leaving linen to have a 15% chance. And if you wanted to, you could actually give copper ore and linen the same amount. So if you reduce this by 5 and do the same for these 3, we can now make copper and linen have the same chance. So there we go, that's a loot table. Simple. So anytime we get an item from this loot table, we have a 45% chance to get gold, a 5% chance each to get one of the swords, and a 20% chance each to get one of these materials. And we can do the same for this rare drop table. And perhaps this one is for levels 20 to 50. So maybe these ones give a bit more extra gold. And perhaps from these ones, we get some other interesting items. So we can set these values again. And maybe this one, as it's a rare drop table, you only have a 25% chance to get an item. So we have 2 tables here now, but how do we use them? Well, we go to our enemies, and let's go, for example, to this one. So let's remove these ones that we're using already. And so, first of all, we have a little variable here called max item drop. So this is basically the maximum amount of items that one enemy can drop. And by one enemy, we mean the selected enemy here. So let's say these dinosaur version 2s can drop up to 5 items. And they're going to drop those 5 items from 3 different loot tables. So they might drop something from the sword loot table, the common drops, or the rare drops. So let's say if they drop an item from the sword loot table. Let's go back to that table real quick and have a look at what it looks like. So it has a 100% chance to loot from this table, and it drops all of these different equipables. Let's change that to 75% chance to get an item. So if we go back to our dinosaur, we can actually set always get item to true. And basically what that means is it overwrites the loot table's chance of getting an item. So even though we just set it to 75%, as we've ticked always get item, we're guaranteed to get one item from that table. And let's say the chance of using that is about 30%. And we say common drops is also 30%. Actually, no, let's put those up. Let's say they're both 45. And that means our rare drop table is only 10%. So it's 10%, and when we actually have a chance at looting from it, there's only a 20% chance we get an item from it. So obviously you can see you can create some quite complex like loot patterns from quite a simple interface. So there we go. So now this dinosaur is going to drop 5 items, and each time it wants to drop an item, it's going to look through these loot tables to see which one it's going to get an item from. So most of the time it'll get one from the sword loot table or the common drop table, and occasionally it will get an item from the rare drop table if the rare drop table actually gives an item. So what you can see from this is the chance of you getting 5 items depends on whether you always get items from these tables. And in addition to that, you can also add empty slots. So there's a chance at no loot as well, which you can also add here, which you can also see applies where you have the % chance to loot. So you can see all these numbers get quite confusing, but essentially you can create quite a complex loot scenario with very simple interfaces. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like more information on the RPG All-in-One, check out the tutorials and other videos in the playlist linked below in the description. And have a wonderful day.